Ladies and gentlemen, we now call to order this special meeting, and under just as a disclaimer, under the charter, we can discuss only the items listed on the agenda, and they are the public hearing on the proposed budget. This council will meet next Wednesday at 7 o'clock to adopt some version, maybe the advertised version, we don't know, maybe some adjustments. And tonight we can also discuss the awarding of bids for removal of storage tanks, and that's all we can discuss. So at this point in time, the budget has been duly advertised. There was talk earlier, I know, a lot of concern about a tremendous rate hike that the town was going to have to pass on from Dominion. The real estate tax increase is off the table. There's no increase in real estate taxes. The garbage increase has been reduced from, it was going to be $3 extra on residential. It's just $1. That's still cheaper than Crew and Cambridge. The commercial will be up to $2 a month. The town manager has said he's looking to maybe next budget have a scale for commercial between something that would define large commercial, small commercial, maybe a little bit more fairer for some of the small businesses. And the main thing that I believe that was in limbo, and may still be somewhat in limbo, but the rate increase from Dominion is gone down from possible 10% to 0.4%. And when you throw in the reduced fuel adjustment charge, which they pass through from Dominion, it will likely result in a decrease in your electrical bills. Is that correct? It's a balanced budget. There are 3% raises for most town employees. Not everybody's getting 3%. Most are. There's some merit increases that will be voted on when the budget's adopted. There'll be public record. But this is your opportunity. If you have questions or want to speak against or for the budget, this is your chance. I'll see Mr. Tom Taylor.
Okay, you said Dominion Power with the rate increase, that's fluctuating. You know how they gonna roll it?
Well, by law, they're supposed to by June 1st tell VEMA, who we buy electricity from, what their wholesale rate increase is going to be. So, they were talking 10.1%. The latest number is 0.4%.
So, would it be advisable to go with that and what do you call that plan, whatever you call that thing?
The budget plan?
No, I'm talking about that utility plan. Electric.
Yeah, the budget billing plan.
Yeah. Will they affect that?
Well, the budget billing plan is simply that's irregardless of it's basically whatever your town bill is. They average you out for 12 months, whatever your consumption is for the previous 12 months, and the town will give you a number. It may be $250, it may be $316. That'll be your minimum payment every month.
But I'm saying with this Dominion Power, you don't know how they going. With that rate going to be charged you or not. Anyway, you said you'll know by July.
Well, I feel the town manager is pretty confident that it's going to be a net decrease in everybody's bill. We're not going to, the way the budget's been advertised and the way the council's acted, the council is not proposing to pass on the four.
What I'm saying, with whatever y'all do with this plan, will it be feasible to join this plan?
The town manager and I've discussed this many times privately. My personal advice to anyone out there in the audience, I would not want to give the town of Blackstone or any government more money in the summertime because if you start now, you're going to pay higher than you normally would in the summer. You're going to allow the town to keep your money. Now, you'll pay lower in the winter. Mm-hmm. Now, I think the budget plan is ideal for people who may just have a hard time budgeting and maybe, I hate to use this word, but I'll say it's self-discipline. Mm-hmm. But I would say to anyone that right now is not really having a hard time, I would not participate in the budget plan. That's just me. Okay. But there are a lot of people out there that need help, and I get that. So,
I feel you.
Yeah.
No, if there were a question, I do want to point out that we did receive, yet again, revised information from Dominion today. So I think the end result is, if we use the basic chart that we provided to you guys, and we look at any revisions, it'll be about a 1.6% increase from what we've advertised. Okay?
We advertised 10.1. Oh.
Correct. But instead of the 0.4, I think truly you're looking at a 1.6. However, I do think that there is going to be a true-up that we get every year, and that true-up that they processed today that we received, or late last night it came through, it'll end up being a wash again. So we're still not recommending any increase.
No increase in town rate.
After the true-up in, and literally it stays flat. So we're not recommending, and I think we're fine. We'll take that that true up, which comes in July, August, and September, or from the July bill, which we pay in August, and the August bill we pay in September, or we just set those aside.
Another
For
question.
part of our capital improvement.
Yes, sir.
With that, what you just said, with the fluctuation, whatever you just said, if you go with that plan, would they take in consideration with Dominion Power, will you choose to raise or not to raise?
The bottom line is going to be, if you go to town hall tomorrow and say, I want to participate in the budget billing plan, they're going to say, Mr. Taylor, we're going to look at your last 12 months consumption, and if you don't owe the town any money, it's, you can enroll. But what's going to happen is, you're going to pay higher in the way it works out, because most bills, February is a rough month in Blackstone, and even on a good one, that's when the bills are really higher. You're going to pay higher over the summer right now than you would in 2018. Now, in the wintertime, you may get a big relief. But you also may get a shock after 12 months based on how the weather's been. They may say, okay, your budget amount, we had that crazy cold winter, you owe the town $250 after the 12-month period. I just don't advise it.
Let's say Dominion Power reduce the rate. Would that still include when you get a break in the budget plan?
No, you wouldn't until the true up, if it did in fact work, because it's all based on last year's what you used.
Right, it's based on your consumption.
Your consumption, not
Your
Dominion.
consumption, not
So
what the billing was.
Really, it's a crapshoot, okay.
Well, not really, but I think as we get to July 1st, we're going to know with more specificity what the rate is. But the bottom line right now is, it looks like right now your residential bill is not going to go up, and your rate's not going to go up. Now, your bill may go up if we have 110 degrees for 10 days in a row in the wintertime. Mr. Allman had a question.
So, the way the budget billing plans, if you did get this 10% increase and you're on the budget billing plan, it was going by last year's, your true up at the end of the year, there's a pretty good possibility you have to pay more.
Oh, yes, indeed.
Okay.
Yes, indeed.
I think that's what.
Right.
State was trying.
That's a great question. Great point.
Still a crapshoot, so rolling the dice.
But this amended budget summary
It's on your
is,
agenda.
the rates are back to where they were, there's not a 10% in this. This is the new budget. I know we advertised 10% because that's what we had. at the
Right,
time.
right.
This is your revised budget.
It's on page 3, right, that shows the limit rates, page 3.
And we advertise high because you can adopt a budget and reduce rates, but you can't go adopt a budget and raise go above what you advertise, so you have to re-advertise, have another hearing.
We're proposing leaving
The rate's the same. The rate's the same. Even though it looks like the town's gonna get a slightly higher increase from Dominion, we're not proposing to pass it on to the customer. And we also did, remember, last year, we were told we were gonna have 11% decrease, ended up being about 8% decrease. We only decreased rates 3%, and we kept money for capital projects. So, it looks like it's gonna be another good year for the town. And with all these apartment projects and whatever coming online, and something could happen, if we sell more utilities, it's good for everybody. It helps keep the rate down.
If y'all wanna see what they're looking at, I don't know.
And of course, we had a visitor last month that told us that our rates were significantly higher on the water end than Farmville, which blew my mind, but it just, having those college dorms probably doesn't hurt.
Pardon?
Having those college dorms probably doesn't hurt.
Well, I can tell you, we don't sell a tremendous amount of water.
Oh, we don't. We do not.
Sells half again as much water than we do.
Crew sells double what we sell.
But, now I ran into this. A lot of people don't know that you're gonna pay for 3,000 gallons of water regardless. A lot of people don't know this, so they be, fiddling around, turning it off, and then when they get there, what is it, $24.90 or whatever it is, they don't understand why. But like I try to tell everybody, you're gonna get charged for 3,000 gallons anyway. But you'd be surprised at the people that don't understand that.
That's a good point, Mr. Miller. You have a lot of people that own homes in Blackstone that are empty, and they're like, well, why? I'm not, it wasn't there. I wasn't using any water. They just need to inquire. Anyone with questions needs to ask their elected representative, call town hall. Staff is more than willing to help.
We've had some adjustments in the budget since the last few times that we've talked, either between the salary modifications or I remember we took the garbage rate and decreased it from what was.
Right. But we can still raise the garbage man with the,
So, but the other activities that we want to do, which would include the rubbish collection into the garbage fund, we're not going to be able to do
Right.
that. So we do have $400,000 in the budget for this town shop, and so the way to balance the budget Jennifer used as a leavening is just reduce the general fund contribution towards that.
And we may or may not undertake that in this fiscal year. We just never know. I've had a lot of people ask me, what's wrong with the current town shop? I said, talk to the beautification committee. I mean, some folks, it's
That's
just,
your committee.
it's a great committee, but again, I'll be honest with you, I'm a guy. I don't want to sound chauvinistic. Things like, there's certain things that really don't bother me, but a lot of folks in town that just, that's ghastly what that looks like.
We
But I just
decreased
know
our
them to do it because I
expenditure
ride.
there to offset the decrease in revenues.
Right. And it might be, it's a noble goal, it may not work this year, or may get half of it done, you just don't know, Like you said, if we can build a new building for $280,000, you're pleased with that too, you're just throwing a number out there.
Water and sewer does it.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Taxpayer, the taxpayer gonna get if you build a new one, our taxes going up.
Don't, not in this budget, because the town manager has found ways to fund it with a little bit from electrical, a little bit from water and sewer, and a little bit from administration, or, isn't that right, general fund? Right. Anyone else?
Speaking on the beautification committee.
Yes.
Since y'all mentioned that name. We're not objecting to the relocation. We just said, what their different purposes, just clean it up.
Right. The beautification committee has not said build a new building. They've said clean up, but the town manager said, it might be wise to centralize everything at Babs. It's a noble goal. It may, we'll certainly have more discussion about it before we do it.
You nobody had a gun to your head and said, you gotta move.
They have not. But again, I give the town manager full credit. When he tries to do something, he tries to show you where the funds are gonna come from to do it. And it can be done without tax increase right now. Anyone else? I'm glad to see some folks here. There's 5 more folks here than I expected, and that's good. Yes, sir. And refresh my memory, you spoke in May, and you were for a new, is it Larry with a H? Fred, with your last name starts with H.
Hanbury.
Hanbury, yes, sir. From Maben or Gravett?
Farmville.
But you live on Maben or Gravett? What avenue? Gravett Avenue, okay.
Talking about the town shop, can't you use that bus facility out there?
That's what we're proposing to do, is build a
That's a
new,
pretty grandiose thing.
that we would propose to remove everything up here on Church Street and build another building adjacent, not a garage, but storage for the electric parts and materials, storage for water and sewer components, parking. And we need to park things like our bucket trucks undercover. So the part of that expectation when there be as it is right now, the gas pumps, you can see there's bays built back there, so.
But you can use the bus facility.
The land up there, we can build it adjacent, but the repairs are already being done up there, yeah. So that's where the mayor said centralization.
Well, there's a lot of space in the bus building, but
I mean, all of that spectacular building there for that bus.
have you been inside?
Well, part of it.
Okay, it is nice, but I think the town public works needs we've got a pretty good number of employees in public works, but could be used partially, certainly. I don't think anyone's gonna go out there and do anything crazy,
I think the majority of it is storage and parking the vehicles in the base. We talked about moving the fuel tanks, but I just think that's gonna elevate the cost so much,
Those shoe tanks are
and
convenient,
it's not looking bad and all that.
yeah.
We'll work towards it, and we'll just
Yeah.
save our shekels and we'll set it aside.
It would be nice to think, though, if we could vacate those premises, Mr. Nash did mention this, vacate what we occupy on Church Street with the exception of the fuel tanks and sell that to the private sector, get on the tax rolls, and maybe, when Mr. McCormick gets his venture going at the old town shop building across the street, maybe it could be, as Blackstone grows, that would be nice to get that on the tax rolls. Anyone else? We will meet, yes, sir, Mr. Hanbury.
Question?
Yes, sir, absolutely.
Is the town spending $61,000 on a carriage museum?
And the reason we're spending $61,000, that's an inordinately high number this year, but it includes a new parking lot that VDOT, as part of our green obligations, is asking us to build a handicap, and I've got $50,000 in the budget for that. Will we spend it? I hope not.
Where is this museum?
It's across from the Armory on High
Kind of
Street.
across from Caddy Corner, across from Hardee's. If you go across from Hardee's, you'll see the Old Schwartz Tavern and the Carriage Museum, which was built in 2007, is just off to the side from Schwartz Tavern.
It's abnormally high this year because it has a capital outlay component to it. And we met with VDOT, and VDOT did recommend, because our grant application said it. We got a gravel lot there now, and it's not fully ADA compliant. So I think that their recommendation of that list, that was the number one priority for us to do. I've got 50 grand in there.
Have you been there? Well, you need to go by there. That will be another great welcome to Blackstone Moment for you. It's pretty impressive.
But I mean, here you have, Armory. I mean, what do you need an Armory?
My goodness, you were hitting on some big points tonight here. This is becoming like a third Monday here. I should have worn that tie after all.
Armory, then Swartz Town.
Yes, sir. Well, let me give you. Listen, these are great questions, and
One, Wigglesworth Stadium.
all right, time out. Let's answer one at a time. Wigglesworth Stadium is our town recreational complex, which was rebuilt in 2013, and it's 4 ball fields. We attract numerous district and state tournaments, and we have about 200 kids every year playing ball over there. That's been less controversial than the 2 other buildings you mentioned. You mentioned the Armory. That's a 1936 landmark that the town's owned since 1988, and we've been grappling for the last 18 years what to do with it. That's a question still, very much alive before this council. Swartz Tavern is the oldest building in Blackstone. It's a landmark. It dates circa 1796 probably. And that is, just in case you didn't know, I don't want to belabor you, but Swartz is a German term for black. There used to be a White's Tavern. The town originally was called Blacks and Whites after 2 rival tavern keepers. And White's burned down or was destroyed many, many years ago. And that left, that's the town landmark per se. And that's why, it went for many years, it housed the Chamber of Commerce office, which is now located in the Antique Mall. But when we do have special events, and at Christmas we try to open it up we have a lot of visitors that like to come by there. Are we maximizing it? Absolutely not. There was a plan in the 80s, about the time we got the Armory, to move Town Hall to Swartz Tavern and make that the town offices. In 1980s, when it was renovated in 1988, that was the big debate the community had.
And it just seems like all of these properties,
We don't spend that much normally. The town manager is big on budgeting a little more than expected on the expense side. And we also tend to under budget on the revenue side. So when every June comes, we don't have this massive deficit. I believe I'm speaking. I'm kind of left the reservation here, but just
We're planning on doing several fix-up activities. We need to paint the tavern, as Jennifer just reminded me. That's included in Schwartz Tavern's budget in the capital.
do it about every 7 years, 5 or 7 years.
We've painted it once since I've been here, and it's looking a little shaky again.
Yep.
So after the 1st of July, the budget will get adopted, then we'll get in the process and painting the tavern. There's been some discussion about putting fire sprinklers in the tavern, and Nikki Greer is looking for that.
Yeah.
And I don't know how that jiha's with historic and not, and I think there's still
Should have
some
been done in '88.
discussion to do about there. But the main capital activities are the parking lot for the Carriage Museum, plus remember we gotta do a blacksmith shop too, and that's included in that $50,000. With the town employees building a blacksmith shop in the grassy area between the tavern and the museum, and that was also recommended from the, and that was not mandated by VDOT, that was included in the grant application, that it was the town's intention to build that thing.
We're going to hire someone to reenact the blacksmith.
I don't know, I think Robert Thomas just has some blacksmith
That's in
stuff.
Ward A, isn't it? Is that Ward?
Those are the 2 things, if we don't spend $50,000, we're not gonna spend $50,000, but I don't have a dollar figure. I think the blacksmith shop, if we could build something like we did for the cemetery, have you seen the new shed for the cemetery?
Yeah, it's nice.
It's nice, the guys built that, and they did a great job, and something comparable to that, maybe with windows, with some louvered, sides that people could observe during,
Right.
during, Arts and Crafts Festival or something like that, but
But
our guys can build that.
One thing, Mr. Hanbury, and listen, these are great questions. We love set of new eyes. July 31st, right here in this building all day long, there's going to be the Virginia Tourism Board is going to be here seeking people's input on what we can do to expand tourism. Because as you can see, like most small towns, we've got some gems here.
but what you need here is industry and agriculture. You need jobs.
We got to have jobs for our locals.
People who live here, work here. and
Correct.
shop here, not tourism and hotels and restaurants.
Well, if the
Armories
I would love for this to become a busy enough town where,
and have an income base.
sure, we need more tax revenue, we need more private sector employment.
There are people in this town living in parked cars. Did you know that?
There's some, because I get the phone calls.
Abandoned houses all over this.
Oh, sir, I promise you we know about the abandoned houses. Absolutely.
I mean, it's like Puerto Rico. And you're
I wouldn't say that. That's a little stretch, I think.
spending money on museums and taverns and parks.
But sir, just so you know, and this is, but let me just give you, your observations are appreciated, I promise you. The town got about $600,000 in VDOT grant funds to build that museum, and a local family gave all their collection of museums, which is vast. They paid to restore them, and oh, by the way, they then gave the town $50,000 cash. To get that grant, the town made several statements / promises, and two that we really haven't kept and just got left by the wayside. A paved parking lot with ADA compliant, and there was talk of a blacksmith shop. It really wasn't a promise, but we're trying to appease the family that gave a lot to the town. Now, we can argue all day whether or not that's more important than solving some of our low to moderate income needs, absolutely. But the facts are the facts. We made sort of a pledge with VDOT to get those funds, and we want to honor our word. Just like the town was given the Armory in 1988 for cultural and recreational purposes. We haven't lived up to our word. Not because we're evil and deceitful. We had to build a new fire station. We renovated a police station. Fort Pickett, no, but listen, sir, it's important. Fort Pickett closed in 1995, and we had to renovate a water and sewer treatment plant for upwards of about $8 million total, which we're still in debt for. So it's not, again, I welcome, these questions you ask are online. I just want to make sure there's historical context that can't be ignored.
Another thing, police and fire. You know, this thing with the police cars, going to their homes. I mean, why is that? 35 miles?
It had been standard practice to do that a year. And in 2011, if I'm not mistaken,
That's
I
correct.
started working here. I think town council at that time voted to take the cars and park them. We were in a financial crisis, and I get that. And I don't think it voted very well with the police. I don't think they liked it very much. But for 8 years, they didn't drive cars home. And then within the past year,
It was 2016. What it was in 2012. If you lived in town, you could drive your car home. If not, you couldn't leave it. It was 2004. What happened was people were driving to Farmville to go see a movie theater, and they watched police cars pass them from Blackstone on a Saturday afternoon. Go, what's going on?
Well, I just saw a Blackstone police car in Farmville at Domino's.
So they very well could be stopping by there after they take somebody to PRJ.
Yeah.
Right.
So you can question a lot, but it's a lot that goes on.
Right. But this council, you made a good observation. 35-mile radius is now in effect.
He left here.
And there's some citizens who agree with that, but there's some other citizens who think, look, police aren't paid that much as it is. If it's a perk that keeps you competitive with other localities. But
Which other localities are doing.
right,
You see Farmville police cars and crew.
Well, that doesn't make it right.
right.
Each town, it's a stair-step thing.
It is.
Our rates, we're the same as everybody, and water and sewer, well, each one is doing the same thing. But that doesn't make it right.
Well, we appreciate your comment.
Absolutely. Listen, and yeah, but I wish more citizens who had strong opinions, though, came to these meetings. Because and I appreciate you being a visitor to make these observations. Any other questions or concerns about the proposed budget? Police, the police is what, 1.3 million a year in the budget?
1275.
Yeah, it's a big-
1230.
The fire department, that's crazy.
I don't know about crazy, but we do invest in our fire department.
It's ridiculous.
But you have to remember something else, again.
Why would you think that's ridiculous? Just out of curiosity, for a public service, an emergency public
What's
service.
burning? Look at Crew. The nicest thing in the town is the fire department, sitting in row.
Well, you need to do a little investigation because you got a fire department here that you can really be proud of. They trains they like.
This public safety thing has gotten way out of hand.
Well, one thing that I know a lot of people observe, and you are too, there are far less, when I came back to, Lonnie and I got back, started raising a family about the same time, you could count every year on between 6 and 10 spectacular, large, tragic, whatever fires you want to mention. And one of the firemen back in the 90s told me, it was Jimmy Falwell, he goes, Billy, we're doing such a good job of fire prevention, I think you're going to see our fire calls decrease, but people are starting to overuse / abuse the EMS call because of the popularity of Rescue 911. Someone starts getting dizzy, call 911, I think I'm having some. And they're getting, the EMS calls are running the fire department, the rescue squad ragged. So while a lot of times it'd be like, hey, why do we need to spend all this in fire and rescue? You'd be surprised. They're running 3 to 4 calls a day, first responders.
And not only that, the shortage that they're having the crew, and especially Burkeville, when they have a big fire, we're the first ones to get called to it too. So it's not just us covering this town.
We do. We do. But now I will say this, the person,
All numbers up in,
So you don't agree with that either?
no.
Well, I'm sorry you feel that way, but there's a reason why you got that expense there.
one thing we could all agree on here, everybody at this table and you as well, one of the culprits, in my opinion, if I'm wrong, y'all forgive me, I think there is they used to talk about the military industrial complex that drove up spending. I think the fire truck companies and the fire people who make fire regulations are in cahoots, and they're putting a burden on small towns. We just had to spend $300,000 on air packs. Had to have state-of-the-art NFPA certified air packs. Now again, I'm not a fireman. I certainly want Lonnie and anyone else wearing the best. I think on small towns it's gotten a little overzealous on what the regulations are. And if I'm wrong, forgive me, but that's my opinion. And it does drive up your cost and our cost. But I also want to let you know this. The firefighters on their own volition have all kinds of fundraisers throughout the year and take a lot of burden off the town. Am I right? I mean, they're usually about $20,000 or $30,000 or $40,000 a year. They have their own fund they do things with, and it's not to play. But again, we need to hear from taxpayers of all viewpoints, and we appreciate you. We do.
Well, you go to outfit one firefighter that's between $2,500 and $3,000 for turnout gear.
Used to be $600, $500,
And it's only good for what, 4, 5 years?
and every set of turnout gear has to be replaced every 10 years, doesn't it? At least.
I think it's every 5 years.
It might be 5. But yeah,
We do many fundraisers to help pay for stuff like that.
but just one more thing, I'll shut up. But if you'd have sat in this chair 7 years ago, and this is on me and everyone who was in office at the time, this town was conducting what the town manager often referred to ravenous spending. And we woke up in August of 2011 and almost couldn't pay payroll. We had no general fund. We had no surplus. And in 7.5 years, we have turned the tide, due large part to staff just saying, look, cut spending, bare essential. We used to not require purchase orders. Now everything has a purchase order. So in this town, the only problem financially with Blackstone right now is the debt burden is still fairly high. It's not as bad as it used to be. It's about $10 million, $11 million. But a lot of that was, like I said, when Pickett closed, our predecessors said, we'll take the water and sewer treatment plant. And that may or may not have been a good decision. But it was a costly decision. It may have been the right decision, but it was costly. It was costly. One more, Mr. Taylor. Yes, sir.
Well, back in the day, when Pickett was operating, they picked up the water and sewer for Blackstone.
They were doing all of them. We just passed on the surcharge. It was gravy. But they also condemned our water and sewer treatment plant in 1942. So, it's... Any other comments on the budget? We have one more item to approve some bids, I believe. These have been good comments. We're not going to take any action tonight. I would ask this, though, if staff could calculate, just for the next meeting, just what the total amount the raises do cost. I've been made privy to them. I fully support each and every one of them. I just think it's something we need to keep in mind, because if you do that every year, it's a recurring expense. It's nice to know what the raises cost.
Are you talking about the 3%?
I'm talking about the 3%, the merit. There were some that didn't get 3%. Just generally speaking, the grand total raises in this budget costs X. Just something a number we need to, because you're going to pretty much be replicating that.
The expenditure is replicated every year, but the revenue needs to be replicated. It does not need to be a one-time true-up from Dominion
Right.
to give out. That's the kind of thing you got to put in capital fund or in reserves to pay off some debt. We talked a little bit about that the other day. Ongoing expenses like salaries are the biggest thing we got. That's the biggest expense. And they need to be paid for with dedicated streams that are every year, not just a one-time shot or something like that. And if a one-time shot does happen, and we did that, I think in 2012, we gave a bonus that didn't apply towards
That's
the
correct.
employees' salaries or retirement.
It's a 3% or 1.5% bonus, I
I
believe.
think that's what it was. So it, not only does the expenditure need to be tracked, but the revenue needs to be tracked, because you gotta make sure you're keeping up with an ongoing, regular stream of money to pay that increase out. All right.
All right. Any council members have any questions or concerns about the budget? Then the only other item left on your agenda tonight is the awarding of bids
And they're included on the back part of your package.
for the removal of storage tanks. And where are these storage tanks?
Are finalizing something that was actually part of the Church Street project. If you remember, when we did the Church Street project, part of what we were not obligated, but what we wanted to do, this was a want, not a need, or not a commitment, is to remove those 2 above-ground storage tanks that sit down at the corner of Amelia Avenue and Second Street. They're pretty nasty looking. And about 2,500 gallons of tar in one of them. And we bid this out probably in 2014. If you remember when we did the cleanup in the shop, remember when we took all those barrels and just countless buckets of stuff and tar and stuff in the fire training ground. I mean, we just had a mountain of chemicals and buckets. We didn't even, a lot of surplus from World War II, picket. So we got rid of all that stuff. At the same time, we bid out getting rid of the tanks. And it was $24,000, and I said, I don't have the money. So we revisited it this year after I got to know Bill Doherty with Cornerstone Engineering. And Bill Doherty and Cornerstone Engineering were the folks that took the underground storage tanks out of the Old Town shop.
They did.
About a year and a half ago, before McCormick bought it, okay? So I called Bill. I said, man, is there any way you can hook me up with this thing? Because we tried with Waste Management, and we just don't know that much about sampling, and they were asking, Jennifer was calling them up. It was just a circus. We didn't know what they were talking about halfway. So I called Bill and I said, can you take a look at this thing? He begrudgingly said yes, but it was very helpful. And if you can see the price to dispose of them, it's half of what it was when we bid it out the first time.
12,500. That's the only bid we received?
Only proposal we received, and you can see we advertised it. The only proposal we received was this one. I did talk to Tom and see if they were interested, the local environmental group, and I don't think it was within their bailiwick. So,
That's a great price.
Okay. Gilmore Environmental did look in.
and so you know where the money's coming from. We sold the building. And we still hold that
$75,000.
money. We never spent that money. That money's still sitting in a fund, and I would propose to take 12,500 of that 70,000 and pay to get rid of those tanks. The price is a lot less than it was last time.
What is gonna be that property used for after the tanks are removed?
Well, I don't think we'll do anything other than what we're doing. We have the salt shed down there. If you ever wonder what that metal building is down there, we park the garbage trucks in there, but that's also where we put salt and sand for the winter. And that stays in that building. And remember, we're gonna be basically abandoning that big concrete water tank within the next year or so. And I think maybe a little planning may make some sense, and maybe a salt shed up at the bus shop may make some more sense if we move, and maybe the land could be then useful to somebody. And but it's a salt shed down there.
Those tanks are just right on the corner, it's not, it doesn't really take up a whole lot.
How about the concrete reservoir, though, the million-gallon concrete reservoir? Didn't you say there was interest in that?
I think Mr. McCormick may be interested in seeing if there's something quirky that could be done with it. I think he's your guy. But
God bless him.
yeah, that thing is going to be mongo expensive to tear down.
Yeah.
And there's also one other thing that is located on that property, and that is a delivery point where bulk water buyers, say they're spraying herbicide for pine spraying or filling swimming pools. We have one designated spot in town that's metered, and we ask that everybody load there. And because we don't like opening hydrants all over the place, because then we end up with people with pink sheets and they don't know why. You know what I mean? So we try to open up that hydrant. That's what that little cinder block building that sits right on 2nd Street is. And that's a metered delivery point to fill up bulk tankers and trucks and tanks and such.
You
How
feel
much
good?
do you get for a load of water?
How much? Well, it's usually 7,500 gallons. We charge the same rate as somebody that would buy, you know, for your house. So the first 3 is $24, and then on from there.
Council, is there a motion on the bid of 12,500 to Cornerstone for the removal?
So,
Ms. Thompson's moved, Mr. Morgan is second. Is there a time period in the bids, you know, when he'll get to it?
No, I don't have him committed on a date.
Okay.
I can find out from Bill when he
He's
proposes.
responsible. I have no doubt he'll do it soon.
His bid, he gave me the proposal in May, and I needed to procure it. I knew over 10,000, so I felt
Yep.
like we needed to do that. So we slowed up a little bit, but he did say he would honor and bid. I'd like to.
Because the amount is over $10,000, I'll have a roll call vote starting with Ms. Hasbrook.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0 with 2 absentees. We will continue this meeting to Wednesday, June 26th, 1 week from tonight at 7 o'clock.
So you wanna do 7?
Yes.
Again, okay.
Yeah, I have a better record of getting here on time. I mean, well, what do y'all, does council feel good, better about 7? What else might be added to that agenda?
I think she's got a, Jennifer, like, grass cutting bids.
Okay. I mean, if you rather do 6, I mean, I know that it's not gonna be a public hearing. If 6 is better, I have no opposition to 6.
Whatever y'all, that's whatever.
What day is it?
y'all-
It's next Wednesday, a week from tonight.
Adopting the
do
budget,
6.
approving probably half a dozen bids.
There's no hearing. I would say 6, personally. I mean, that's just me.
6 might be better for people with families and stuff to get it over with and then we can get it over.
I think so. I mean, like I said.
You talked them into it, very good.
Well, one thing, I don't mind saying this. I mean, first and foremost, the public, but I know that, staff has to hang around,
Yeah.
6 good enough? Is that okay with y'all? Okay. All right, we'll adjourn this and continue this meeting. We'll continue this meeting. It's now 7:40. See y'all next Wednesday. Thank y'all for coming. Mr. Hanbury, thank you for coming.